Basically, if I'm going to just fall out of the car because it's kind of heavy to trek through all over the place. So that's that one. This is a leading easel. Okay, it's on a camera tripod, and this is what I use more often. I actually just did a plein air demo in Q&A for the senior residents in Concord at Newburyport. And on this past Saturday, I was at Algonquin plein air, and I brought the two paintings I did, Algonquin plein air on this Saturday, and then there's another plein air piece that I did last year, looking at Portsmouth Light from Kittery. So I brought in a whole different selection of different pastels. I know some of you said that you're starting to do pastels. So I brought different selections so you can see what they look like. There's also, I brought some pastel paper that's all laid out there. You flip them over, you can see what the different brands are and things. There's velour and there's sanded paper. This is what's called UART paper. It's 400 grit. It's mounted to an 8-ply board, which is what I tend to use when I go plein air painting. I use an 8-ply board, and I usually attach it to a masonite board to carry. Okay, I do that even when I'm at home. All right. So before I did a quick, this was a 45-minute quick study here of what we're going to paint today. Okay, or hopefully paint today. I'm going to go as fast as I can. As you can see, there's a lot of detail in there. So chances are I won't finish this, but whenever I finish it, I'll email me the finished JPEG so you can see what the finished JPEG looks like. So you can, as I said, you can see there's a rather detailed sketch, and I divide it into, so the graphite is doing basically this surf area, and I use vine charcoal for the rock area, so I can, otherwise I get lost really easy. Okay, so I'm gonna put on my glasses. When I plein air paint, I don't wear my glasses. And even now, it's more frightened, so I can see that. So we'll get to rocking and rolling. And like I said, if you have questions, just shout them out, and we'll go from there.
You always wear a glove?
I always wear a glove, yes. You never know when there's a cardiologist in there. And he might need one, so I have one. I have extras. I could have used them trying to get in traffic. My heart rate was probably way up there. You could say, slow down.
Do you go dark to light?
Yeah, I tend to do more dark to light, though you can finagle it. Once you start learning the medium, you can learn how to go light to dark and everything. So as you progress along. Now this pastel here, you might think it's a black, but it's really what's called eggplant. It's a deep purple. Not the band Deep Purple, but a deep purple. It's by Terry Ludwig. And a lot of pastel is used is because of how dark it is and how rich it is. So I'll tend to bounce around a little bit, so I have things to play off of each other. Because if I painted all the rocks and then I went to the surf, then the colors are not going to be the way they should be. I'm going to end up like saying, well, that's not right, and I have to go back and fix them all. And we don't want to be doing that, right?
Did you do your sketch from the photograph?
I did them from these here,
Okay.
yes. So I take my own photos, digital images. I traipse all over, you know. These are up in Gloucester. That's what these were taking.
Use any hard pastels?
Yeah, I have different softnesses. Like I have more hard ones in this box here. These are all the other ones here are basically soft, you know, pastels. I have some Rembrandts over there that are semi-hard, medium soft.
Do you ever put a wash on the paper first?
I've done, and if I get time, I brought the alcohol to wash this down with. And I've done watercolor underpaintings as well on the pastels, so.
Line before or after?
The watercolor, I would paint this all in watercolor first. And then I would put the pastel. The pastel wash with the alcohol, obviously I'm going to lay down all the color I can, and then wash it in with alcohol, 70% alcohol.
Did I hear you say that you did the small piece on the easel in 45 minutes?
I did this one in 45 minutes, yes. That was just a quick sketch, just so I could, you know, it's kind of almost like, I was talking about I played hockey. It's kind of like you do a warm-up before you actually play the game. So I did that to try and get an idea. So I moved things down. When you look at this one here, I decided to move the rock and everything down this way to give it a, you know, it was too much in the center for me. So I decided to move it all down.
Did you start off with pastels or did you migrate there?
I pretty much started with pastel. How I got into, I mean, I painted, you know, I've drawn or done something like that, you know, my whole life. Haven't we all? You know, that's what brought us to this in the first place, right? When my late wife went back to college, you know, we both graduated. When she went back to get a second degree at night, I was sitting at home just twiddling my thumbs, like, geez, what can I be doing, you know, while she's off at school? And my aunt, who lives up in Gloucester, she was taking pastel classes, and one time we were visiting, and I was like, oh, that's something I could do. I mean, I like to draw, so there's something I could possibly do. So I started, you know, pastel because she did pastel, and also it was because I worked full time. It was something I could just come home and they were already there. I didn't have to worry about squeezing out paint, mixing it, things like that. So that's how I got into pastel. I dabble in other mediums, but pastel is my primary medium. I don't tend to use fixative on, I did use fixative on this because I didn't want the sketch to come off in transportation. But my larger pastels, I don't tend to use fixative. On the smaller ones, I tend to put fixative on because they tend to lay around the house more before I get them framed. But for the plein air Endicott show, you had to have your painting framed. So my framer, I bought the frames, one of each. I tend to always frame in gold or silver, so I bought one of each and then went from there as to like what to use, you know, for the paintings. But the fixative I do use is Lascaux, Lascaux, fixative, and it's like fixative, like Fixatif, I think it is. Yeah. You can buy it like anywhere pretty much. So pastel is very forgiving in medium, and it's also works well with watercolor, gouache. You can even dilute your oils, and this paper will accept diluted oil wash if you want to. Don't everybody talk at once now.
Jeff, you have made that rock pop out so much just with those charcoal lines and a few other little color pieces that help to emphasize it. The rock is really there.
Yeah, you want you know, it helps, you know, living in this area. When I was up planning on painting in the Endicott, the woman sitting next to me, she's from New Hampshire, and she was, you know, saying that I really can't paint the ocean. You know, I'm not used to painting the ocean. So I asked her, I said, do you ever paint waterfalls? She goes, oh yeah, all the time. I said, no difference. It's just, it's rocks. You know.
Water doesn't come back in waterfalls.
Yeah, that's the only difference, exactly. It doesn't, it goes in and out, but you know, still you got foam and such, so you don't lose, you know, a lot.
Do you limit your palettes when you do plein air?
So when I do plein air, I usually have this box here, okay, which is Unison half sticks. They're manufactured in England, and then the other ones I have are over in my backpack there. So this is 120 sticks. The Unison, the Rembrandt is a 90 stick, and then I have a Green Earth, not Green Earth, Great American. It's 60 sticks, and then there's a Scenario that's 40 sticks over there. But a lot of times I'll only use like the Rembrandts and maybe this, the Rembrandts and the Great American. It all depends on what I'm trying to capture.
How about the question to rub or not to rub?
It's up to, you know, each person, okay? When I first started working in pastel, there wasn't all this kind of different paper available. Really, you had Canson Mi Tientes, was like pretty much the only paper that was readily available. And that's an actual paper, and you had to like rub to get into the grooves a lot of times. This is a sanded paper, and if you were rubbing this, you know, you're gonna rub your fingers pretty hard, and that's only gonna work if you basically have a side job as a safe cracker, and you don't want people to see your, you know, your fingerprints. Now you might wonder why I put my cell phone and the iPad, because when I put the iPad up, it's like these colors have like kind of muted out and shifted down. So I put the cell phone up because it has a better rendition of what the colors actually look like.
Is that the level of light that you have on your paper?
No, this is actually pretty dark.
That's what I was thinking.
That's why, and like that's another thing. I'm trying to see the colors. It's actually kind of dark in here. Usually I have a spotlight.
Yeah.
You know, I do project these images. I usually don't paint from these. I usually have a projector like that, and I project on the screen a little bit smaller than this. And it's usually over there.
We did have lights, but they're so hard to position, we couldn't get them.
It's okay. We'll make do.
Do you try to get your projection and your canvas to be sort of one-to-one in your eyesight, or it doesn't matter?
No, it's just usually like, this would usually be like here, and the projection is right there, so I tend to paint like this and look that way. And I have the spotlight off my right shoulder, which can be detrimental because it'll cast shadows at times. But I figured out how to finagle through there. Now, perhaps the one downside to pastels, especially when you're plein air painting, is you have to bring, you know, a sizable amount usually.
So I've never done pastel. If you make a mistake, can you kind of like brush it off? And
Sure.
wipe it off?
Yeah, you can, again, pastels are very forgiving, so like, if you like put colors down that, you know, that you decide really shouldn't be there or whatever, yeah, you could just take, you can take a bristle brush and brush them off, especially if you have these here. You can wrap tape around your hand and press in and pull it out, okay? So, yeah, there's ways you can fix it.
Do you ever just do it kind of really freestyle without sketching first?
Yeah, I've done, but those are usually plein air pieces, where I'll just like stop painting. No under sketch, no nothing, I just stop painting.
So when you were first starting to draw, or doing drawing, what did you draw?
What did I draw?
Yeah.
What do you mean by what did I draw? I mean,
No, I mean when you were young and started.
oh, when I was
Like
like,
a kid?
when I was about 5'2", as opposed to my giant height that I am now, right?
Right.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I used to copy the comics, Sunday comics, and then superhero comics, and war comics, And then I used to draw a lot of like, you know, local athletes, so Bruins, I played a lot of hockey, as I said earlier. So I would draw them like Bob Orr and Jerry Cheevers and such. So,
So
yeah.
the whole figure, not portraits or anything, the whole figure?
I would tend to do more the portrait than the figure. Though I would do caricatures of them as well, so like they have the big heads and I put like little goalie equipment on them and things. And then I used to draw a lot, like, you know, I'd see a cute girl and I'd draw a flower and say, hey, look what I drew for you. Didn't work that often, but just like, who's this weird guy?
Do you stay with landscape and seascapes mostly now?
Yeah, that's what I primarily paint. I have other interests, but it tends to be what I paint most frequently. I have a lot of ideas on things. I mean, I do still lifes as well. I've done still lifes. I have a still life that's going to be in the show up in Amesbury, and it's of a baseball glove with a baseball, and it's an old antique baseball glove, and it's like in the grass in the field. That's one of the things I did first, when I was first doing pastels. I did a lot of still life work. And I actually took lessons from the same woman that was teaching my art, but she was more of a portrait teacher. So she used to set me up with a still life out by her furnace. And I was the only one standing out by the furnace. And she'd come by and stand in the doorway and say, do you need any help? And she'd look at my painting, and I'd step back, and she'd look at it, and she goes, no, you're okay, see you. Okay.
How do you, if you need to do anything with control of the light on the projector?
I don't do anything with, I just have the digital image. If I want to finagle with the digital image, I'll fix that in my artwork, Alchemy Archive, I think it is.
No, I mean like any ambient light that might affect how you project yours.
No, I just paint, you know, I have like a spotlight, I have overhead light, and then I have the projector. And the light bulbs I have, they're a combination of warm and cool light bulbs that are in those. Seems to work, at least for me. Did that answer your question? No, not really, no.
Well, before I went digital, I used to project through a slide.
Yeah, I used to do that too.
So the room light would affect how, you know, like this, like what we're looking at up here right now, the light on the screen is affecting how the colors are looking at it. So I wound up building a box that I could project into that would block out, you know, like projecting into a tunnel.
Yeah.
Being the screen.
Yeah, I used to work from slides as well when I first started, you know, and obviously first when I started I used to work from a photograph, but then I worked from slides, and then, but I used to do the same thing. I just used to project the slide like on this here, and I would have the light over my shoulder and the light above, so.
And of course, we always have to remember when projecting that the darkest dark up there is the white of the screen.
Yeah, so you have to, like, you know, that's why I like to work from my own photographs, because I'm out there, so a lot of times I would shut the machine down and just work from what I remember.
supposed to work until the slides started fading from the bulb light. All of a sudden, my paintings are getting lighter.
Getting a little brown in the middle.
How much?
It's that orange glow.
Yeah.
Oh, were you just like painting the same thing over and over again? I never burned a slide out like
No,
that.
no. You would eventually fade after about, 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Does anybody have cataracts? I mean, that's a really interesting color thing.
According to my eye doctor right now,
It's pretty amazing when you come back from how pretty.
well, he said it's just minor, so there's no reason for me to do anything with them. He said Monet had cataracts, so that's two things I have in common with Monet. And cataracts, and he and I were the same height.
He's also a good painter, so there.
Oh, thanks a lot. Man, that's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, he was rich.
Grow a beard and that's 4 for 4.
I had a beard before. I used to do Civil War reenacting. So I had a beard before. I had a goatee. It actually, several stories about like me with my goatee is one time I was with a friend, okay, two of them have to do with going to the Red Sox. One time I was with my friend and we were coming back from a Red Sox game and I had my goatee and my shaved head and he goes, do people ever like look at you and like, like kind of like move away from you? And as he was saying that, there was a couple coming with a little kid. He looked up at me and he went around the other side to his parents. And like, and then the other time, it was with that same guy. I was at a Red Sox game and a friend of his kind of called him up like later on that week, said, hey, were you at the Red Sox game? And he goes, yeah. He goes, were you sitting on the first base side? He goes, yeah. He goes, about 3/4 of the way up. He goes, yeah. He goes, I saw you. He goes, why don't you come over and say hi? He goes, there was some psycho with a goatee and a shaved head next to you. I wasn't coming anywhere near with him. He said, that's the guy I was with. But the funny thing is, when I worked in Boston for 12 years, like, tourists would always come and ask me questions. How do I get here? And it's like, okay, let's ask the guy who, might steal our money, like, questions. Nobody would sit next to me on the train, so even if the train was completely crowded, there was usually an empty seat next to me.
If you come to a natural break, it's 5 minutes or so, take a break.
You guys can take a break whenever you want. I'll just keep going.
Do you mind if people come up and look at it up close?
Nope, I have no problem with people coming up and looking at it.
What happens if one of those two?
All right, the second number. It's 717.
Here we go.
But this one
All right, if you want to grab your drinks.
Years ago, a while ago, I used to with darken it. Head back to our seats. That fixative that I used, that I was talking about, that hospital fixative, doesn't do
We've
it.
got about another half hour, and then,
So, actually, what I'm gonna show is because we're never gonna finish this. Obviously, I'm gonna like do the alcohol so they can see like basically put the alcohol wash on. Okay. Then I'm gonna show like how I put like a board like this together. Okay. Because I know you're pressed for time, and this way I can show people like, hey, this is how I do this.
Yeah, we, you get kicked out of the building at 9, and you get 15 minutes to pack up.
Hey, so I'm gonna like just basically show you like how we use a alcohol wash. Okay, just so I know it's not complete, but there's enough here for me to show you like how I'll wash this down. And what it does is it sets the colors into the paper. There's different ways you can do this. So like I tend to a lot of times use the local color. So you know, obviously, if the rock is brown, then I'll put brown. Okay, if you think of local color, an apple is red. That's the local color. And then, as you know, there's a whole bunch of other colors in it. There's reflected light, there's there's the light and the shadows and things. So there's all these other colors in the apple, and you move back and forth from there. So I'm going to like wash this into the paper, okay? And when I wash it, I usually start with the lightest colors first, the lightest areas.
Is that just alcohol?
This is 70% alcohol, rubbing alcohol. You can get it at any store.
That's it.
That's all it is. And I don't mind if this alcohol rolls down the paper because, you know, it's all interrelated, everything.
Sir.
Now, does that fix it in place also?
This sets the color into that paper,
Okay.
okay? And then I can build the color up and down from there.
Does it make the color muted?
Yeah, I mean, somewhat. I mean, what it also allows you to do is like if you have, if you used to like painting oils and watercolor and thing, brushwork, you can now put your brushwork in, you know, into the painting, which can add to like, you know, good effects that you might not necessarily get with the pastel stick itself.
The texture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's doing the Beatles back here? Yeah.
So you can go back in with the pastels over that wash.
Sure, once it dries, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And then after that is when you put a fixative in
well,
on to set the.
you can put a fixative on whenever you feel like it if you want to use fixative. Some will put a fixative in, you know. Most pastels don't use fixative, except, I mean, like I said, I use them on the small ones. But say you want to like really darken an area, so you might put fixative on and then lay more dark colors over the top, things like that, just to hold it in place.
Yeah.
You would use the alcohol outside too, when you paint outside?
I rarely do outside, but I have used it outside.
Why don't you use it outside?
It's just more stuff I have to necessarily carry.
The cards that we just raffled off,
Yep.
what size were the originals from those?
They're like 19 by 20 something. They're like the size of a piece of cancing.
Yeah.
Pretty
Pretty big, yeah.
Yeah. And those used to be, actually, they used to sell those in the Gettysburg National Park,
Oh.
in the visitor
Wow,
center.
yeah. How did you get yourself placed there?
I actually knew the woman who was the store manager. I met her before.
Through your reenactment activity?
Kind of just from going down to Gettysburg,
Okay.
a lot of times. She was a real nice lady, but the national park stopped using that company for their store.
Oh, okay.
And so once she, left, I mean, she had her own bookstore for a while in Gettysburg, so I moved my cards over to her there. And to get the cards even into the national park, they had to be approved by the park rangers.
So there goes all your sketches.
Yeah, well, we don't have to worry about the sketch anymore, right? We have a pretty heavy painting started being laid in, so we'll just work from the painting itself now.
Does it still become an underpainting?
Well, yeah, this is basically pretty much, an underpainting. It's pastel underpainting. Like I said, you can do watercolor underpaintings, pen and ink underpainting, and I use because this is alcohol, I use a watercolor brush when I do this here. Setting the color in.
This is a typical stage that you do, or is this something you're showing us?
I will do this, or I'll do a watercolor underpainting.
Oh, okay.
So I'm showing you folks this because,
Because that's your standard.
well, I thought it'd be something interesting you'd
Good.
like to see,
You can put alcohol on top of the watercolor, it's underneath.
I don't put alcohol on top of watercolor. I use just watercolor, straight. Now, over in Europe, they have no isopropyl alcohol. So, what pastel artists do when they, go over to Europe to do a demo or for a show or whatever, and they're going to apply that paint, or they're going to do this, they buy actual alcohol. Yep, they do vodka or gin, something that's clear. And then they have something to drink at night too.
Does that alcohol get dirty from?
Yeah, I'll clean it eventually. I mean, right now, it's still good enough. I only use it for pastel, so it's just pastel, alcohol with pastel.
So now that you're going back to your colors, I heard a question at the cookie table, and I'll ask for that person. If you start with one color, like I would call it like cerulean blue, but I don't know. Would you go and use that in all the places in the whole painting?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so
I'll,
you switch back.
Yeah, I'll move around and things like that.
And then the other thing was, there's gonna be a lot of white you're gonna add, right?
I don't really use white,
You don't,
no,
so
but
it'll be shades, so.
yeah, so like Rembrandt makes a really nice lemon yellow that you know, is very bright, and so we use that. So that's basically, you know, the wash on the painting, okay? So while that dries, so like when I paint out in the field, you know, or like that board, so I have a masonite board, and let me take the glove off, because otherwise the tape is good. So this is the UI paper, okay, it's on 8-ply board, okay? So this is a 5x7 piece, alright? I have more of them out in my car, I usually keep some in the car. And which is, I usually keep my plein air gear in the car. This plein air gear out in the car. So to attach this, the advantage, I mean, this is heavyweight itself, but obviously if I was just to paint on this here, you know, when I carry it, it's going to be, you know, I'm going to be touching this. So that's why I put it to the basin. So we're going to take this here. So what I do, so you take, now this is artist tape, so it's acid free. And there's, when my framer puts them on the board for me, he uses mount core, and I can't use this tape because the mount core, it like peels the mount core. So I use a masking tape because I'm not going to leave it on there. And even then, I take a utility knife and I cut all along the edge, basically cut it off of there. So we roll a piece like that and put it on the back there. And then what we start doing is we start taping along the edges. So the sticky side is sticking up on this side here. So then I press it down like that, making sure, trying to keep the edges so that they're, because like, you know, obviously if it's not at least close to the edge there, now you're like, okay.
Horizons.
Yeah, pretty much. And then I take the black tape.
What kind of black tape is that? Same thing?
Yeah, this is artist tape also. pH neutral masking tape they call it. You get it, I buy it at Artisan Craftsman, which is in Saugus near me. They sell it online too. I've gotten it on through Amazon before.
So there's no tape on the face of the picture, it's all
All on the
it's
edge.
on the back.
Yeah, the back and the edges. Yeah, nothing on the.
So when you frame that, it all comes off?
I take this all off, yes, I take it right off of this.
This is really tough, I mean, I'm sure you can't do this, I'm just curious. Could you just
sprinkler and put it down?
Well, I wouldn't do that, I mean, it'd be kinda hard to pull that off, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so the tape, like I said, it just peels off. I can take an X-Acto knife and run it along and peel it off. So,
there's no reason for that back piece after you finish.
that's not, the only reason it's gonna be is like when I wanna put another board on it. Okay. Unless I'm an oil painter and I wanna gesso it, you know, and use it that way.
Perfect.
So that's how I carry this, so now I have something, you know, I don't have to touch the paint, I just carry it like that. And if I have more than one, I just put, you know, if I do two, like I did two there, I just put them back to back and just carry them like that, you know. So, and so like, that's that, and who asked like, why do I use black? Because it doesn't reflect back when you're painting outside, you know, the white will reflect back a lot too much in your eyes. This won't reflect back as much into your eyes. So yeah, that's a neat way, little way to like do plenty of painting with this. Do pastels and carry your boards. It doesn't work as well, I mean, I've done it with paper, you know, without the board, but the board itself works better. Now, you can buy the boards through Dakota Pastel, they're out on the West Coast. They used to actually sell the boards with a border already on it. So I have some of those still at home. So you wouldn't have to use this, you know, it just already has a border on it. You know. The only problem is the border tends to be white, but it's not a shiny white, so it's like a matte white. And it's on archival board, not foam board, it's just crescent board or whatever they use. But the process they used to use, that's why people are using mount core now. There used to be, they used to send it into a press, the pastels used to use it, they would mount their own board and they would heat the press on it, and then everything would go through a press. But the company that made the board that went through the press, they don't make it anymore. So now, I'm using mount core, and my framer, he'll do it for me. He actually likes the mount core better than he did the other one, because he doesn't have to heat it up as much, and it sticks right to it. As I said, the only downside is you can't use this tape in that fashion. The underpart, okay, you can't use this tape underneath when it's on the mount core, because it tends to peel the mount core off like so. So I have to take an X-Acto knife and cut along it instead, and then slowly peel the paper off. But I asked another pastel artist, and she said she just uses like masking tape, the same size. Though I used the masking tape on one, and I was like, it still sticks like that. What is she talking about? So, but I feel, you know, it worked. The only other thing is with the mount core I find, and I don't know if it's like how he's done it, but it kind of has, it would be, when it was framed, it wouldn't be a problem, but it seems to not stick all the way to the edge. So there's been a few times I've taken like artist, you know, acid-free glue, taken a toothpick and just run it in between the board and the paper, and then just press it back down. Because I was finding, as I was painting across, I would hit it sometimes, and it was like, I don't want to be tearing this. So that's how that works. So it's like 8:31.
Wow.
I know you gotta be out of here, so we'll just open the floor for questions, dancing, you know, anybody, you know, charades, mimes.
Couldn't you just stick it in a mat or something to hold on to or
Yeah, I mean,
instead of going to
some,
masonite?
some pastels used to carry a mat board with them, and then they would just put it in there. You know, now I got a mat board and a backing board, and I gotta carry that too. And I just gotta carry that, because I'm not gonna frame it, and most pastels don't use mat boards anymore. You know, they frame, as you can see right there. We just use a spacer, and in case any pastel dust falls, it falls between
No,
them.
but I mean to just tape it to a ready-made.
Yeah, but I'm just
That
saying
would
that
be easier than.
You know, most pastels don't use matte board at all anymore, so, and it's just more things you have to carry. It's already on that, so I don't have to worry about painting and attaching things, it's already attached and such. I mean, that's just my preference, and you might wanna do different.
Well, you could, I mean, we just give you something to hold on to.
Yeah, it's just, it's pretty much what it's for, so I got something to hold to, and not smudge
The
things.
masonite cut to that size.
Yeah. Well, I don't cut the masonry to the size of
Well, it's bigger, you know, how
the
do you
paper.
get it that small?
I always, what's that?
How do you get it that small?
What, that
I've only
masonry?
seen 4 by 8 foot sheets of masonry.
Oh, no, you keep that, I buy that, bought that at like, you know, the store.
And an art store?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the, artists and craftsmen used to sell this, but they don't anymore, but this place up in Beverly called Art Supply Wholesale. So yeah, this is just, a 9x12 masonite board, they sell them. And they're only like a couple, you know, they're like $2 or $3 for like the smaller sizes.
Nice.
Any other questions? So, you know, that's it, like basically, is, you know, it's washed down into it, and we'll explore and explode from there.
So how far along would you say you are now?
Maybe, because of like how I work and everything, maybe about 25 to 30%. I got a ways to go. A lot of layering will go on and things like that.
Thank you all for coming, and we were asked if we would put the chairs, so if you could just take your chair and